again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes and arachnids. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today we've got ourselves a really gorgeous, lovely, and oh so squishy stitch. This is the Brioche stitch. Now, for a long time I have seen this stitch and I was very intimidated because it looked rather difficult, but actually this iteration is really quite simple with just a 1-row repeat. Yeah. Now, for this particular stitch, we're just using one color. Now, there are other iterations where you use 2 colors. It's a bit more advanced. We are going to do baby steps, and we're going to start with the 1 color. Maybe sometime in the future, we are going to do the 2 color. At any rate, like I said, this is very simple, and it is such a marvelous texture. I can't recommend it enough. It's sort of like a ribbed stitch, although it has such an incredible amount of stretch to it. I absolutely love this. And it is double-sided, of course, and it does not curl, which is a huge bonus. Yes, indeed. And for this particular swatch, I used, it was Red Heart Super Saver stripes. I think that this is the polo stripes, if I'm not mistaken. It's a weight of 4, and I used a size 10 knitting needle. Now today I'm going to be using some DPNs. These are a 10.5, and I'm going to be using the same yarn. And well, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Okay, so for this stitch, because it is really stretchy, you want a cast-on that is also relatively stretchy. And I have found that the knitted cast-on works beautifully. I have done a tutorial on this before, although we're not going to be casting on that many stitches, so let's just do it together, shall we? So I'm going to start off with our usual slip knot on there, and that's going to count as our first stitch. Then, of course, making sure that our tail is going off to the side, and we're going to be working with our working yarn. And then going into that first stitch as if to knit it, going in there, and then wrap the yarn around and pull up a loop, and then going through that front loop like so, and pull that, not too taut, taut but not too tight. How about that? And then we've got 2. So I'm going to do, say, a total of 12, which will give us a good sample to work with. I mean, I suppose that you could do the long tail, but if you do the long tail, you might want to do a cast on where you cast on over 2 needles. I have seen that done before. Generally, I don't do it myself, although it is a technique that you can do. So just going to do 12 of these, and then we will get started in with the setup row. And then after the setup row, then we have the 1-row repeat. It's really quite simple, and this is really a great stitch if you want to do some sort of autopilot knitting where you do not have to think about it at all. It's lovely, trust me. And another thing, there are no purls. Unlike so many other rib stitches, there are absolutely no purls with this particular stitch, which also I think is quite nice. I have nothing against purls, it's just I prefer doing knit stitches myself. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8. Nine. 10. 11. 11 and 12. Now I'm sure that the microphone on my camera isn't picking it up, but if it were a bit more sensitive, you could probably hear my sourdough starter. I have it on my counter at the moment, and he's bubbling away. He's a little noisy, but what can you do? All right, so I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, perfect. So we have our cast on, and let's do the setup row. All right, so the setup row, it's really quite simple, but this is necessary in order to do the brioche stitch. Also, I'm taking sort of an easy shortcut. There is, of course, a way that you can do a slip stitch edge to both edges. It's not difficult, but this particular method that I'm going to show you is a lot easier, and it creates more of a garter stitch edge. So the first stitch, we're going to start off with just a knit stitch. Actually, I think I caught one of the plies there. There we go. Okay, so first stitch is just a knit stitch. Then we're going to do a yarn over, slip, and a knit. So the yarn over, we take the yarn, wrap it around the needle to the front. Then the next stitch, we slip it as if to purl. So like that way, as if to purl, slip that stitch off, and then knit the next stitch. And this yarn is going to be wrapping around the stitch that we just slipped, and that is important for the next row. It's going to look really weird and funky, but this is actually what we want. So that yarn over is going to loop over that slipped stitch. We knit the next stitch, and there you go. So we have sort of a wrapped stitch right here. Okay, then we repeat that until we hit the end of our cast on. So yarn over, slip as if to purl, and knit the next stitch. Okay, yarn over, slip as if to purl, and knit a stitch. Scooch my stitches down a little bit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, and knit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, and knit. And then knit the last stitch. And that is the end of the setup row. And I'm going to turn my needle around here. When you sort of spread out the stitches, you can see that we're going to have the first 2 stitches are normal. Then we have a sort of a wrapped stitch, then a stitch, a wrapped, stitch, a wrapped, stitch, wrapped, stitch, wrapped, stitch. So it basically alternates back and forth between normal knit stitches and these wrapped stitches. And, well, we're going to get into that on the next row. Okay, so now we're going to be doing the actual brioche stitching, and at this point, every row is going to be the same. So we have 2 normal stitches to begin with at this point. So again, the first stitch, just knit that stitch. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Then we're going to hop into the patterning, if you will. So we're going to yarn over, slip a stitch, and then do a brioche knit stitch. or a knit two together, figuratively speaking. So yarn over, slip a stitch, and then do a brioche knit, which is taking this paired stitch and knitting it as one, sort of taking those two loops and knitting them together. So what we are in essence doing is we are creating a paired stitch, and the paired stitch that we had before, we're creating it, we're turning it into a normal knit stitch. So we're basically doing a transposition of stitches, if you will. So yarn over, slip the next stitch. Again, it's purlwise. It's always purlwise for what we're doing here. And then brioche knit, which is also called a bark, if I'm not mistaken. And so that yarn over is going over that slip stitch, creating a new coupling, and then taking the one that was coupled and turning it into just a regular knit stitch. So you can see how the pairings are alternating now. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, and brioche knit. Or as I like to think, just you're knitting two together essentially. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, and knit two together, or brioche knit. However you want to put it, as long as it works for you. We'll do that again. Yarn over, and slip as if to purl, brioche knit, there we go, and off, and then knit that last stitch. Like so. And that is the repeat row. And ultimately, you just keep doing that over and over and over and over again until your piece is as long as you want it to be. So we're going to do that again. So knit the first stitch, yarn over, slip that next as if to purl, and brioche knit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, brioche knit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, brioche knit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, and brioche knit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, brioche knit. And the last stitch, just do a knit stitch. There. And you know what? For, as I say, stuff and giggles, let's do another row as well, because, I do like to be thorough, and I know that this is a very different sort of technique for many of you. And I mean, I only was introduced to this particular stitch just the other week, so it's still kind of new to me. So let's do another row together, shall we? And you can see the pairings and the normal stitches in between. Sometimes they do separate and they do uncross themselves. So you do sometimes need to be mindful of where the pairings ultimately are, even if they are not crossed over like this. It does happen, okay? So let's do this again with a knit of the first stitch. There we are. Yarn over and slip as if to purl and brioche knit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, and brioche knit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, and brioche knit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, brioche knit. Yarn over, slip as if to purl, brioche knit. And last but certainly not least, knit that last stitch. And there you go. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to knit up a couple more rows, and then I'm going to show you how I like to do the bind-off. All right, I will see you in a bit. All right, so after working a couple of rows, you can really see the ribbing taking effect. And wherever we have one of these paired stitches is where we have one of those lovely ridges. Now, for the bind-off, as with most things, there are a million different variations. The only thing that you really want to do is make sure that your bind-off is also fairly stretchy, because, well, the fabric itself is very stretchy. And so what I like to use is the Stretchy Bind-Off, which I have shown before, but I'm going to show it again because we only have 12 stitches here. Now, keep in mind that when I did the cast on, I did a total of 12 stitches. These paired stitches do not count as 2 stitches. No, they count as 1 stitch. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So you have to treat those stitches accordingly. Otherwise, it's really going to get cinched up or expanded, as the case may be. That being said, we're going to hop right in and do our decrease. So, going right in, going to knit the first 2 stitches. And then with the left needle going in through the front of both of those stitches and knit them together. And you want to do this loosely, okay? You do not want this to be terribly tight, even though this is a stretchy bind-off. So knitting these 2 together and off. There you go. And then knit the next stitch. This counts as 1 stitch. So knitting those 2 like so. Knit that one off, and then through the front with the left needle, knit these 2 together and off. Knit the next stitch. Through the front, knit these 2 together and off. Knit this pairing. through the front, knit them together and off, knit the next stitch, needle through the front, knit them together and off, knit the next stitch, which is a pairing, through the front of both, knit them together and off, knit the next stitch, through the front, knit them together and off, knit the next pairing, through the front, together and off, knit the next stitch, through the front, together and off, knit the next pairing, through the front, together and off, knit that last stitch, through the front, together, and there you go. Ta-da! And then pull this loop out a bit. You can then snip your yarn, and look, it accommodates the stretch very nicely. It is pretty, and I like it. Now, yes, as I've said, there are a ton of different cast-offs, with different names and variations and so forth. But this is something that I already know. I'm familiar with it. I'm comfortable with it, and I like it. As long as your cast on and your bind off are stretchy, you can't go wrong. And, well, there you are it. There you are it. There you have it. Excuse me. The brioche stitch. Ta-da! Love it. Alrighty, my dears. So that is going to conclude today's tutorial on how to knit the brioche stitch. Absolutely love its simplicity, and its texture is to die for. And if you haven't given it a try already, do so now. It is so simple once you get into the swing of things, and the possibilities are quite endless. Whether you want to do a scarf or a blanket, this would make an incredible baby blanket, okay? Just saying. And I absolutely love how it turns out. Let me know in the comments section, what are you going to do with this stitch? Also, as I said before, there are a lot of variations in how you can manipulate this stitch, use multiple colors to create different looks, and I do have plans on working with this stitch more in the future, but like I said, baby steps, we're working on it, gotta show you how to crawl before you can run, right? And I'm working on it myself too. So at any rate, I want to thank all of you for watching today. Hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. And if you did, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know that I appreciate your appreciation as always. And you know what to do until next time, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.